And thank you so much for joining me. We are continuing to trace our ancestorship, our indigenous, American indigenous ancestorship. Come along and join me on my voyage as I begin to look for clues and information on how I can discover my family's Native American ancestorship. As you know, I started much earlier. This is part 2. If you would like to continue along with me, I have much to share with you. I have been on a voyage out looking for information and clues. What you hear in the background is an authentic recording of an actual powwow. I was given that tape by a young AWOL who discovered that I was Native American descendant and wanted me to share in the festivities of this powwow that they had. It is authentic, and those are real life Native Americans, and I won't say indigenous, because we're going to discuss that further, how they became the natives and we are the indigenous. It's just the other way around. There is some clarification that must be had. And I'm going to silence a little bit of the music in the background as I talk to you. I want you to know that I am Omiinka 7, Lady Jaguar Thorn, and that is a Native American that was given to me, Lady Jaguar Thorn. I periodically use that. However, for the benefit of those that know me, I can go affectionately by Omi if you'd like to call me that. But I am Omiinka Zanu, which the name Zanu was given to me by my godfather, Chief Metahochi Zanu. Now, what I'm here to talk to you about is my research and my discovery. I am a researcher by profession of legal researching. I'm a legal professional paralegal that does research. So I have learned how to do research, and I've also done research, professional master's degree research in my thesis study. So I am familiar with the process of researching. As you know, I did talk to you earlier about some things that I had discovered. I had gone out on the actual National Archives to discover the process and what exactly were they looking for in order to determine my native blood and quantum. They call the word blood quantum. Now, this was discovered way before any of us were born. If our ancestors were truly full-blooded Native Americans, they would have been prompted to go and sign their name on the Dow's list. And at that point, they had to put down their Native American clan. And they were listed under the Dows, and that's DAWES, row. There's also 2 rows, and the Freedmen's Bureau row was created for those who were African Americans who cohabitated with the so-called Native Americans who lived with them as freed slaves. They wanted them to have a category 2 since they had cohabitated with those so-called Native Americans. They were called the Freedmen's List, and their name would have went on a list to recognize them as being a freed slave who cohabitated with Native American. Now, on our birth certificate, we will find that some of the birth certificates that we had various different acronyms on them. And colored was one of them that they put in an all category of color. And at one point in Virginia, all that category meant was everything other than white went in that category. But later on, they defined that color as copper tone people who were actually Native Americans. On my birth certificate, which I discovered, they had labeled our family colored. Now, mind you, now I told you earlier that the death certificate that I found, my mother, supposedly, if this was her, was classified as white. She went from possibly mulatto to white back to color. And you could go full circle on this, and this is what I discovered. A lot of people lost their identity and then gained it back. Now, what I'm here to discover for myself is because I was adopted by my sister, I wanted to know more about my heritage. So me in particular, I went out on the ledge to look for my family because I wanted to know exactly who they were. So one of my young nephews and I, we started out on the voyage, and this is a navigation process and a long process, I must say, but nevertheless, one that is beneficial. So as I went out to navigate under the National Archives, they immediately told me, well, you are going to need to have your Dow's enrollment number. I said, what is that? They said that was a number that was given the Native Americans when they enrolled on the Dow's list. You have to go out and look at birth certificates and look at some of your census bureaus to see if they had a Rose number. Now, I said, but what if they were not pure-blooded Native Americans? Then I was told that they would be on the Freedmen's list. Please don't forget to search the Freedmen's list. Don't just take it for granted that when you come off of the list of natural born blood quantum natives, and when they put you on the Freedmen's list, that is still a list that entitles you to some land. Now, why am I talking about this? Several of us have lost property. And I think by all rights, once we discover our heritage, and I'm not talking about once we discover how much reparation we can get, that's water over the bridge. We're no longer talking about any reparation. Now, if you want to add that, that's fine. But what we're going after is our native heritage, and to acknowledge that the land was ours, then you, the status quo, and Mr. Enforcer, you know who you are, will be entitled and obliged to give that land back, or for whatever it was worth, the amount of that particular property, plus interest. This is how we get our reparation legally, and through a court of law, we can prove that our land was stolen from us because we're natural quantum blood-fied people who can acknowledge their heritage. I was actually raised by a man that was a first descendant Cherokee Indian, his mother being full-blooded Cherokee. We were raised Native American style. We were not detached from our Native American heritage. We talked about it often. And my uncles kept me abreast with the actual tribe of Seminole Indian, claiming that they were part Frenchmen. I said, what does that mean? They indicated that we're part Frenchman and part Black. There were a large portion of us that were French Native Americans, and all we did was talk about the heritage of being French Indian, but we got no benefits to go with that. That's going to change indirectly. My Papoose brothers. My Papoose brothers who are claiming the full identity, knowing that they came from a different climate and a different location. We must understand that if you're going to live here on Turtle Island, where the sun is beating down and it's hot, that is none other than Black. You cannot come here with straight ether hair and a mulatto skin claiming to be an indigenous people, which they have given you everything lock, stock, and barrel. We know good and well that all of the people that came over through the Middle Passage, the Atlantic Passage, were not on that ship. Majority of the Blacks were our occupants to walk and talk with my 102-year-old uncle, my great uncle. I had a chance, Sam Lilly and George Lilly, who were both knowledgeable. and George Lilly, who were both in World War II and World War I. So they would have documentations in their Bibles. Ladies and gentlemen, quit looking on this DNA list. It is fraudulent when you're trying to get your African heritage because you cannot pinpoint that DNA heritage as to what country you came from. It may have been Africa, but where in Africa? You have to start looking at your Census Bureau and your church records on your birth certificates and talking to your elders where it all starts. And I've been talking to you for some time now about not American, but indigenous, Asiatic indigenous. I've been talking to you about that for some time. Now, all those followers out on Facebook or all those who want to be followers and are just friends, I suggest you go and follow me, or else the information will be held under lock and key only, and then by golly, you will have to do the research yourself. Then why reinvent the wheel if I've done some of it for you? Would it hurt you so much to go and follow the leader? I say follow the leader because I have a vested interest for looking into this, not to gain any fortune or fame, but to find my heritage and my lineage. I was given the name of Lily and Sam Lily, Shang Lily, and said, go look up Shang Lily. He is one of the Native Americans. He is one of the ones that carried our name, and we need to know about him. We need to know about him. His soul cries out to me to find out where we went to and who mowed down our heritage. Well, I'm looking for that heritage now. And I invite you to join me on this journey as you join Omi Inca 7 tribe on the journey. Now, as you listen to the authentic music in the background, don't think it's strange that those powwows are powwowing in our place. But we are the only indigenous people that are the rainmakers. We are the only ones that can make it rain. And you best to know this. We've been fed a lie, ladies and gentlemen. We've been fed a lie about our heritage, and we're carrying on as if we are outsiders, but we're indigenous to this land. I've done the research, and the writing is on the wall. My paperwork is prepared to send in to the Seminole Indians of Oklahoma to check out my Dow's number, not knowing that the Dow's number is correct because you can't confirm that. But I do have the names of the family members that were listed on the Census Bureau, and I found all of them on the Census Bureau under me. And those of you who are connected to our family by way of Brackens, Harveys, and I know the Jenkins are connected because married into the Jenkins family. And I know that you have a journey ahead of you because you've got to research on your patriotic side of your grandmother, and then, of the patriotic side of your fathers, and the matriarchic side of your grandmothers. But why did they tell us a lie? Tell us that we were colored people. Colored people also recognize certificate as copper tone Indians. There's so much Indian blood in me that I know that it's there. But to know it in my own heart is one thing. I must be able to prove it, and so must you. And you do that not through going through the Indian Bureau of Indians affair. You just don't start there. There's, as I said earlier, there was a lot of misnomers and myths about the Indians getting rich and having all of these proceeds issued out to them on a month per diem. This is not true. Per the Bureau of Indian Affairs, that the monies were only given out if those particular indigenous people lived on land that had oil that had to be deciphered and divided amongst the people. Now, a large portion of us want to know where that money go and why didn't we get our allotment as Native Americans who are indigenous blacks, and there's being held on to that is not being issued out to us, especially not any land. We no longer want to ask you for reparation because we know that you're filibustering on that topic by saying, how can we properly divide the money amongst everyone? And how can we ever fulfill? But the way you can make us whole is to give us back our identity. We must have our identity, and we must claim it in a court of law. And once we claim our identity, hence and forevermore, we will say indigenous, aboriginal indigenous, never again black or African American, names that you plagued upon us, which diminished us and put us outside the letter of the law, and inability to claim our heritage in a court of law as a citizen. You've stripped our citizenship, and you have stripped our ability to fight in a court of law and made us outside of the letter of the law. You must give that back ASAP. We know now what you tried to do to a group of people you call cattle. We are not registered as cattle. We are registered as the first world indigenous aboriginals. And we have our identity back ASAP. We can see you in a court of law. Bring about a summons of your coming to court to prove that we're not indigenous people. And we must all come together, brothers and sisters, stop fighting amongst yourself about who claimed what first, and stop talking about us being Africans. We are here on this Turtle Island. Those are our brothers and sisters over there, true enough. But we're trying to decipher who we are right here on Turtle Island as an indigenous aboriginal and not as an African. I say not as an African. Not Africa, the majority of us may have gone there to visit. That is not our inception of our. We must not get it confused. They want you to claim Africa so they can send you back there along with the immigrants. There are laws right now that are being mustered up for the immigrants. And if you say you're an immigrant, they will send you right back to your homeland, so-called homeland, Africa, and you will have to fight it out with them. But that's a lie. And as truth is not in it, we're indigenous to this land, and we're going to court on this matter to decipher the fact that we are from here, and we were never brought over on any ships. The majority of us had land, property, and heritage right here. When you go to the islands and you talk to those people, they said they don't know a time when they weren't there. They've always been there. They played a trick on us that's wicked than the devil. And they want us to believe it because they thought we would never read it in the history book. Well, we researched the history books, and the geographical area that you say the so-called good ship Jesus traveled down, he couldn't have traveled down the road that you claim and come here in large mass of people without any water or foods to sustain them. Or else when you left Africa with millions of people, by the time you got here, the majority of them would have been perished, and you would not have the count that you claim you have. This is an out lie. Now prove it. There's enough of us that are awake now, and you can talk to us intelligently and show your documentation. It's time for show and tell. We've been had, we've been bamboozled, and we've been taken for a ride. And we're arguing about something that could never be. Reparation is something you never claimed to give us. Because we have inheritance here on this land, we want our land back, and we want back pay and interest for it. Because you claimed a lie and you put it in the history books and you fabricated these lies and made children believe it and take this concept on, knowing that you tried to colonize us over and over again. Now, even through the prison system, you're trying to colonize us. All of this stuff must be stopped. And we must come to our senses, brothers and sisters. Some of you are arguing online. You're spending way too much time arguing with your own brothers and sisters who are researching just like you. Quit trying to challenge everyone. And all these people that are for Africanism, it's okay that you want to claim your Africanism. But right now, we're trying to claim our citizenship here on Turtle Island. And know this, that there's benefits to be had now without even going through reparation. But if you want to fight for reparation, go head on. I'm fighting for my indigenous heritage because I can place my grandparents in high places. I can place Shane Lilly in a tribe of the Seminole Indians. We are live and we're well today. We are live and we're well today. And our powwows are going to present themselves all over the heritage. Yes, we are alive and we're here on this Turtle Island and we're not turning back. This fight must be fought to the finish and we must gain our warriors because we're the only one that can make it rain. We're the rainmakers. I don't think any of those so-called Native Americans has any. There is no DNA for Native Americans. They cannot even prove their Native Americanism. They can only show that they cohabitated with the pigment of blood of a Caucasian and became an indigenous people, so they say, but they're not the original. There are no such thing as black originals. We are the original people, and we must put them in their proper places. They cannot have came before us or before the Mayflower. They were in another area. They were not here on Turtle Island. They were not here occupying. That is a bull-faced lie. Our ancestors know that they were here renting their land and cropping on their land. But we've been told so many lies. Now we are fighting amongst ourselves because we don't believe it ourselves. You must believe that you're an indigenous people and you're indigenous to this land. And without you being on this land is not worth anything unless you're on it. And every bit of the proceeds and benefits must come to us that you've stolen from us. You've stolen from us right before our eyes and told us that we were just blacks. No, we're not just black. There's not such an adjective as black because we're nouns. So we know we're not a descriptive adjective. We are a noun and we're indigenous and not black and not African Americans like Jesse Jackson wanted you to believe. We are not any of those things. We must navigate through this madness to find our real heritage. We must navigate to find our mothers and our fathers. I'm looking in high places for my great-great-grandfather, and I found him. And I will find my mother, and it will be identified as to whether or not she is a mulatto or a copper-tone Indian. We must search these annals of the history book and looking at our indigenous archaic books and looking for ourselves in high places and going to the churches and pulling out files and records in the library. Know who we are. So many times we wanted to claim to be connected to Africa because we thought it was the way to go, at least I did. We thought they were our family, but we find out that we're a unique person and we're not from Africa, and neither are we indigenous to it. Those might be our brothers, but we were here on this island and we cohabitated here. And we cannot continue to be sick and upset about who we are. We must stop fighting amongst ourselves and come together, put our research together, get our case law together, and prepare our cases so we, the people, united as we the people, can stand before them with our documentation, knowing that we are fighting for our indigenous heritage and our place in the sun and our land and everything that's been stolen from us. We can do that. Don't despise small things. We're starting at this beginning, and we can go forward and address the court of law as to the Dred Scott case in and of itself, knowing that he was not a citizen. So why then would we become a citizen now? Is it because they ratified the Constitution? Or where is our Constitution, as a matter of fact? Has it been relinquished? Do we no longer have our Constitution? Or are we standing on our Constitution? You must help us to find out who we are. We're not asking you for reparations anymore. We're taking our heritage back. And that we can do. We cannot force you to give us any money to compensate for the error that you made, but we can demand that you give us our heritage and our rightly standing position in the Native American society. Hold tight. Just hold tight here. Well, I wanted to say that a number of us have suffered a lot under the disguise that we are blacks. Blacks has plagued us, the name or the adjective blacks, which is not a noun, has plagued us Even in the court of law, we have no standing in the court of law. We are outside the letter of a court of law. We've never had full representation in the court of law, and you know it, Caucasians. Led us to believe that we're right to come into court as citizens and to stand ground as a plaintiff or as a defendant. And when in fact, you know, we had no rights in the court of law. We have lost our heritage all the way around. Our rights in the court of law, our land, our children. You've detached our children from the truth, and you've given them lies in school, and they have not learned about the great nation. You have taken a lot away from us that cannot be replaced at this time, but you can make us whole by giving us our heritage and allowing us to go to a court of law to substantiate our heritage. And those of you who are Seminoles, Cree, those of you who are Chickasaws, and those of you who are Cherokee, you nations that's already been recognized. You must go and find the tribe that you came from, and you must identify with that tribe and seek membership into those tribes. Now, if you do not get recognized in the 5 civil tribes, then you can go and join membership with the tribe that you think your membership would, if they will have you. And if there is a final hearing in a court of law, and if there is a class action and substantial monies to be paid out, you can also be an heir to those monies because of the fact that you're a member. You must try and go and get local memberships to the tribe you think that your membership are while you're researching. Some of them are hurting for members, and some of them will be grateful to accept you as a member. And coming into this membership would mean that you have all the law-abiding rights that they have dues. And right here in the city of Indiana, there are tribal makeups here that I intend to go and align myself with and to go in and do the work. Because there's much work that needs to be done in these Indian tribes in the area of language. A number of their children cannot read or do not know how to speak the English language or don't speak their own languages. But we've got to come up, ladies and gentlemen. We got to stop with all of this confrontation about who started what first. I can remember way back when I've been on the Facebook for more than 10 years, and I've been talking about indigenous tribes, about our African heritage, because we had nowhere else to connect ourselves and to some lineage. Now I know better. I know that the African tribe was not where our origination came from. Now I'm being schooled properly to know that we're not about the business of going to help any Africans until we help ourselves right here on this side of America. And we are going to help ourselves by researching our heritage right here on Turtle Island, where our mothers and fathers dropped their knapsacks with their cotton still in it. And we are going to make cotton come to Harlem because we got to wake up scholarly researchers and get them on our team so we can start substantiating this evidence in books that we're going to write and articles that we're going to publish. We cannot be a low-graded person letting them do all the scholarly writing, because we know their scholarly writing is going to be tilted and it's going to be lied upon to suit their heritage. We must write and publish our own material to depict who we really are. I know I'm a chief, a Bohemian chief, and not an Indian. I know this because I've been told by many Seminole Indians, you must have been a Bohemian chief and not an Indian. Take your proper places and must not. An Indian is never afraid because we are the true rainmakers. We are the one to carry the magic stick. And most of them know this. I know this because I've been called into place by a chief and given the magic stick and given the E-King chains so that I can throw E-Chings and that I can do the readings. And I can do not only the reading, but I can do the eyeballs and divine and look into the future to see what the end will bring us and see what the end is going to bring. And now that we know that we're the diviners, we have our magic chains, you have your magic chain. If you are a priestess, you ought to be using divining to find out what the future holds for us. I will continue to divine upon this issue about our heritage and our nation. And Mother Nature will give us a reading for all end times and directions for our life. But you, as diviners, scholarly gifts you've been given from the motherland to actually do the readings, you don't actually even need the I Ching. You can read the ether in the atmosphere and the auras around individuals to determine that they're lying. I saw lies all around them that they stole our heritage and that they can no more be a chief, especially a Bohemian chief. They're just plain old natives outside of this continent. They're not a part of the indigenous. Say not indigenous. And they have to take their feathers off and their headdress off and their powwow shoes and the dance they do. They have to sit down and let the real indigenous people step forward. Thank you so very much. I hope you will join me on this voyage. And this voyage is not an easy one. People are going to deter you. People are going to send you the other way around. But you must pull out your research books, go online, pull out the National Archives, get your census books out, and at the Bureau of Indian Affairs. That is not the only place you can go to determine your quantum. You want to know your blood quantum that you have of native blood. That blood quantum is what determines when your mother signed up what percentage blood she said or he said that they had in them. But it's very vital that you should know that. And if you cannot find your name on the Dow's list, then go and look on the Freedmen's list. Those are for Indians who live, those are for so-called Indians who live with Indians but didn't have the blood quantum. So therefore they classified them not Indian, but gave them a level of land because of the quantum of blood of Native American blood not being able to be substantiated. Now, I would imagine that every one of us, at least 80% Native Americans, because it was more Native Americans here on this land that they brought. They didn't bring us over here, they brought the Africans over here. And if the Africans mix with us, then they've got blood quantum Native American blood anyway. So we're all Native Americans and we can prove it. But can the so-called pale-skinned, straight-haired Native Americans prove that their DNA shows Native American blood? No, because there is no DNA from Native American blood. They are part Mongolos. They are Mongoloid natives. They have the six ether hair, straight hair, and the Mongoloid skin, meaning they came from the Asians and they were not indigenous. So coming from the Asians would mean that they're Asians' blood, and they are the blood that does not identify with Native American. So please know this, and don't let them frighten you by saying, see how long my hair is and fair my skin is. No, that is not us. That is not the indigenous people. That is somebody else with a different blood quantum. If you check their blood, you will see that they are not Native Americans. They're not indigenous, but they in fact are Native Americans. Thank you so very much for your time today. I like to say that my journey is getting along the way, and that with help from researchers in the library who have been helping me along the way and compiling this information, I'd like to show you a picture of a Native American, a true Seminole Native American. If you just hold for a minute. here I found the birth certificate, my birth certificate. And the birth certificate shows my mother's color. And the letter C is colored. It's colored right here. And you can look on your birth certificate and see if it's Negro, colored, or white. And these were two documents that I was able to get. This is a picture of my Seminole mother's picture, which they classified her mulatto at one point, and then classified her as white in another. However, she's classified back on the birth certificate as colored, and I would like to find those documents to prove that. So as I go on this journey, this is more than a quest to discover which tribe I'm in. It's a quest to discover who my mother was and how did she live her life, under what nationality and under what tribe. And we must understand that they want us to quarrel amongst ourselves about which one of us are doing the most research and which one of our research can be disproven. But we must gather as much as we can from our ancestors who are still in the grave and those who are still alive. Interview them and gather information. And we must use that information to pass on to our children. We cannot stop here. This Thanksgiving, we cannot celebrate the killing of these Native Americans, because that's what we're celebrating under Thanksgiving. They used to kill Native Americans throughout the week, but they confined it to once a month, and then they confined it to just that 1 month out of the year. And that's what we're selling, the killing of mothers and fathers and children who were contained to an area and burned alive. And that's what our Thanksgiving celebration is. We must not celebrate anymore under those pretense. We must know the truth, that we are celebrating brothers and sisters who were assassinated for no other reason than to rob and to kill and to steal. The devil comes to rob, to kill, and to steal. But we must get our magic together, and we must find our I Ching chains and the divine to get and walk with a clear head and a clear mind. We must not be foolish out here, because this battlefield is real. And if you do not have your magic with you, you will be detrimented, you will be devastated, and you will be killed. But if you have your magic with you, nothing can harm you and nothing can touch you, because you're covered by the ancestors. And you must ask the ancestors to cover you on this voyage and journey, because there's many that are seeking to destroy you and to shut you up by distorting your videos, by fabricating what you say and twisting it around. But you must understand, we have some heroes behind us that are not dead. As you hear their voices in the background, those are live ancestors that's ready to fight for you, because they know you are fighting for the heritage. Be it for those half-breeds out there or not, those half-breeds are going to need us to fight this war, to point them in the right direction of us being the indigenous people and them just being sign-ons and counterfeits. We must identify those counterfeit and $5 Indian and point them out, because they can no longer take our places. It must cease, says the ancestors. And we will call on the ancestors for our every direction, and we will do our rituals and readings and divination to determine which way and who to fight. We will define who our enemies are for ourselves, and we will not let others define our enemies. And right now, we are lost people. We must find and discover ourselves. I think we're on the right path. I think we are looking towards the right direction. I think that we now know we can sit on the throne without fighting for reparation. I thank God. I thank the Most High for helping us to discover we were fighting the wrong battle and trying to seek reparation, that our reparation is right here in hand. It is waiting for us to collect. And we've got the whole host of heaven on our side. We got a nation on our side. We must first build our clans and then build our nations. And then start the process of fighting for the rights of our indigenous people. Please go with us, Mother Earth, as Mother Earth and Oshun, and Yah backs up to support us. The rivers and the oceans shall open up, and the skies with Shango shall also assist us, and the moon and the earth shall be behind us. So we thank you for the support you're giving us, and may we go forward in our research to find documents like these that are very, very vital. You must get these documents and put them in your files, and you must continue to research and looking for the identity on your birth certificate as color, meaning indigenous Aboriginal people. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be back to give you an update of our research, of our heritage, our indigenous Aboriginals ancestorship. Tracing our indigenous ancestorship is a job, and we do solicit your help. And you've been listening to Maddie Harvey's baby sister, the chief of our clan, Maddie Harvey. At 85 years old, and we will hope to bring her on the air to talk about our lineage as a clan and as a nation. Thank you so much. Stay tuned for our next segment on YouTube.